Hi, everybody. Dr. Stu Hoffman and Eric Hoffman back again with you today. We wanted to go over something that has been an issue for chiropractors for so many years. I have had calls upon calls about this one issue, and that is, if I take care of a football team, can I go to another state and actually take care of the players? Well, the answer in the past has always been, well, of course you can, as long as you're licensed in each one of those states. Well, that has all changed, and Eric's going to share a little bit about that with you in terms of what the president just recently signed entitled Travel to Treat. So, Eric, do you want to introduce them to that a little bit?
Sure, thank you. So this goes back several years. As Dr. Hoffman mentioned, there's been legislation proposed to accomplish this specific scenario where we've had plenty of doctors in the past who have asked us, hey, what do I do if I go to a different state, but I'm the team doctor for this sports team? And frankly, there was a gray area involved because you're establishing a patient-doctor relationship in the state where you're licensed in, but you're going to different states that have different rules, different regulations, and that doesn't recognize you as a licensed healthcare professional. So as a result, this has been proposed, as I mentioned, several years back. And just recently, it's been put into legislature. So the law was passed. Our friends, even over at Dynamic Chiropractor, put out a press release on it. And the gist of the legislation is that you can now travel and treat these professionals who happen to be athletes and stick within your legal guidelines to accomplish that.
And it's not just professional athletes, Eric. These could be high school teams, college teams.
Exactly.
There are certain parameters that give guidance to who you would be available to take care of. You can't really go and say, well, I know some kids that are in Nevada this week and they happen to play for a rugby team, so I'm going to go take care of them. I don't think that that's the intent of this law.
Right. There's still nuance involved, and I'll actually go over some of the fine print of the act itself that was passed. So just to start, the people that this is actually addressing, the medical professionals, the way that it's defined in the act is the term covered sports medicine professional means a physician, athletic trainer, or other healthcare professional who A, is licensed to practice in the primary state, and B, provides covered medical services pursuant to written agreement with an athlete, an athletic team, a national governing body, a high school, or an institution of higher education. And C, prior to providing covered medical services described in subparagraph B, has disclosed the nature and extent of such services to the entity that provides the professional with liability insurance in the primary state.
So what I just got from you, Eric, I think the most important part is B, because there has to be, and that's what I was going to in my statement a little earlier, that the group that you're working with, you have to have an actual written acknowledgement agreement with them in order for you to be covered on location. Otherwise, you're just doing it on your own, and there is no formal relationship without a written agreement. Isn't that so?
Yeah, so that the paragraph I read covers multiple parts of this. A, the chiropractors that we deal with, they fall under the other healthcare professional guidance in terms of who is involved with this, because they name physician, athletic trainer, and other healthcare professionals. Right. So chiropractors are involved with this legislation. And more importantly, it does have to be a sanctioned event. I mean, you can't just say, I'm going to volunteer at my son's high school football team who they're traveling out of state for a championship game or whatever it may be. It's not a pro bono sort of thing. It's a written signed agreement that you are the team doctor or you have involvement with one of these institutions where you are practicing as a doctor.
And that's basically giving you the parameters of what you can do, because really what you should be doing regardless is always having permission from that organization or group. Because so many times in the past, doctors have called me up and they've actually asked, well, I want to go and be the football chiropractor for my son's high school team. Well, that's fine and dandy. Good luck to you. There are some people that have been able to break through and become that, but it's rare as opposed to more commonplace. And part of the reason for that is that you're dealing with minors in that situation, and every single parent has to sign off that it's okay for their child to be getting taken care of through a chiropractor. And that sometimes can be an uphill battle. So if you have the sanction from the school or the institution giving you that authority and permission, they already have that from the parents. So you would be justified to go on location with them at that point in time and be able to take care of the team.
Right. And another good point that this paragraph brought up, which doesn't necessarily fall true with us, which is a benefit of having insurance through ChiroSecure, but the point that letter C addressed is that if you are doing one of these activities that fall within this act itself, you do need to, in writing, inform your professional liability insurance carrier that you're doing those activities for them to actually cover you. Because it is so new, different insurance companies will adapt to this, but what the general written agreements state in a malpractice policy universally is that you're only covered to practice where you're licensed.
Right.
We have a slightly different wording in our policy where we're basically telling you that as long as you're following the legal guidelines in the given area you are practicing, you're going to be covered. So technically we have a worldwide coverage policy where if you're following the rules, regulations, and laws in the place that you are rendering care, you will be covered. And this law accomplishes that as well.
I just want to add to that because that's a really good point. Still be proactive and call us too.
Mm-hmm.
But what Eric's really saying about our policy is that, yes, you can go anywhere and be covered as long as what you're doing is legal. But let's remember, part of what you're doing most all the time involves having a license to be legal. This travel to treat, it becomes the exception to that and expands your abilities to cross state lines and take care of some of these athletes without having to have local licensure. And that's really what the difference becomes.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is huge news and a big benefit for a lot of you out there who do this type of work. And we work with a lot of you already, but for those who we don't work with, we'd urge you to, call us and look into this. We'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the new act, what it means for you, and what you can and cannot do, because there's still, gray areas involved, just like with anything. But we are here to help with whatever you might need. So we want to make sure that we can take care of you in the very best way possible.
Right, and that's how we've always worked at ChiroSecure. And those of you that are already with us know that that's our level of service and what you should expect from us. In addition to that, I just want to make sure that people watching this or seeing news on the travel to treat do not confuse that. I just had a Facebook post this morning asking about, well, there are times chiropractors adjust people in other states when they go to a seminar or this and that. Well, that may not be legal. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you need to know what's available to you in different states. So as an example, I gave Nevada as one of the examples of a state earlier. In Nevada, they have the ability for a doctor to come in and get a temporary license for that purpose. But a lot of states do not allow that, and you're running at your own risk, including with your professional liability. So always know with whatever it is you're doing, making sure it's legal in order to protect yourself. And the travel to treat again, simply adds that protection for you when dealing with an organized sports event that you have a written agreement with. So anything else you want to add to that, Eric?
Yeah, just to add on to what he was just touching on, which is a really important point. You, as a practitioner and a licensed healthcare professional, always need to do your due diligence and figure out what you can and cannot do. We're here as a resource always for you, but you do, as a professional, need to know that information. And we always advise, whether it's checking with your state board or your state association, those state-specific entities have really good information for you. Otherwise, there's many consulting groups out there or healthcare attorneys if you need something specific or a legal response to something. Those are always helpful resources in addition to us. So I want to emphasize, always feel free to give us a call for whatever you need, and we'll either help you answer it or point you in the right direction to get you going.
So I want to thank you all for being with us for this special presentation today, and I hope it is helpful for you. And I want to remind you that if you're not already, if you haven't already liked us on Facebook, please go to ChiroSecure and like us. Please download our ChiroSecure app onto your smartphone. You'll be able to watch our presentations, our women's show, our pediatric show, our special events, all right on your telephone. And in addition to that, if you're one of the few people that aren't already with ChiroSecure and enjoying our comprehensive policy, our rates, and our level of service, we certainly invite you to at least find out what we can do for you. So go to our website, ChiroSecure.com, and simply fill out, it'll take you 30 seconds to complete a quick quote form. We'll follow right up with you, and hopefully we'll be able to demonstrate to you why we would be the right home for you. So again, I want to thank you all for being with us today, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, guys.